Barley's Bouch.
Barley's Bouch in the building. Barley's Bouch in the building.
Look, they like, dang, y'all went 3 episodes, now y'all just go turn up on us. That's just how we feeling today.
With a blue Post-it.
With a blue Post-it. Please,
Bouch.
watch us on YouTube. You'll see what we're talking about. But why do we have a Post-it up? You gotta tell them, Carlie.
Oh, because we're envisioning the future, right? You have to write things down to manifest them. And we do not currently have a Bouch, but it is Barley's Bouch, so we are envisioning a Bouch.
And they don't make red Post-its.
They don't. So we know. Trust us. Don't hit us with, well, you can't hit us with comments, but we know.
Right, we're joking. Ha ha ha. All jokes, no gang life here. FYI.
Lex trying to make me spill coffee.
Oh, please don't on my new carpet. I
You
also
moved
moved
to in the
to...
Bat Cave.
Huh?
You wasn't supposed to tell them we was in the Bat Cave.
Oh, my bad. Yeah, this is not my home. Actually, please do not assess the surroundings. You know, there's weirdos who will do that.
That's
Be
right.
careful what you post on social media because they will... I had somebody figured out where I worked. This is years ago in D.C.
Good God.
Because I had a picture where I was hitting the 3rd floor in the elevator in my office, and they figured out apparently like which one it was and everything. It was really weird. So it sucks that we live in a time where you have to think about that because it's like, damn, I can't just get on the elevator and like have a cute picture. But
no,
yeah, no, you can't.
you can't.
You can't. So people are weird. Be careful. But this is just a plain wall. I just moved recently, so soon we will have more things to show.
Yeah.
More things that you can see.
But that's why we have beautiful Post-its.
But right now, yay.
Yay.
Oh, and Carlie got these nice pillows as well. What does yours say?
Be bold, be brilliant, be you.
Mine says, choose happiness.
Yeah.
Girl, I just need some support on my back.
And
I
happiness
appreciate it.
happiness is a great support for your life in general.
Okay, I see how you did that.
Man,
I see how you did that. Dang, Carlie, you're on today. Thank you for these pillows.
And thank you for this coffee. And these cute mugs.
Right, see?
Because we're not at Lex's home, but she brought mugs.
Not at my home. No, we're out of the studio this time so you can see us nice and bright. And we'll be playing around, I think, with some different places to podcast. So, should be cool.
Yeah, different locations.
Yep. So what are we talking about today, Carlie?
You just took my line.
Oh, shoot. Good, because I didn't want to talk about it. You talk about it first.
Okay, so we are talking about building your inner circle. Dun, dun, dun. Like, what does that even mean? What does that look like? Do you have an inner circle? And I have a different term for mine, which I'll introduce later, which I think is important. But yeah, let's just jump right into it. So, Lex, do you have an inner circle?
What does inner circle mean? Our friends?
I think it's different for different people. I would say
People you really trust, maybe.
Yeah. People that you trust and people that are very close to you and have probably like a lot of access to you. And people that you might entrust with your dreams and your visions, things like that. So people who are super close to you. So do you have those people?
I feel like I have a couple of different circles, and by that I mean there is the real like friends circle, which is again weird because we talked about how we've met. But I would even put you into that where I feel like I could talk to you about things, I could trust you. You may not know all the stories of my life just yet, but I feel like I can talk about that with you as well as professional things as well. Then I have kind of a circle of creatives and my idea people, and we can meet and talk and we get inspired and we do projects together, things like that. But we're not always talking about life, and sometimes actually with some of them, yes too. So I would say I have a good balance of circles. Where, what is it called, a Venn diagram? Where you have the circles and they cross. Yeah. And there's a few people maybe in each one that maybe cross to the middle. Maybe that's what really is my inner circle. Ooh. Because, for example, I'd say, you know, my bestie Damo, he's in that creative space, and I also call him to help with projects, things like that. But he also knows about, you know, my issues with people or with things or what's going on in my life, too. So there's a few people maybe from each type of circle that's a little bit closer. So maybe so. And I think that's important, and I think that only recently I've learned how important it is to have an inner circle, because a lot of people you're not moving by yourself, you know? As you move up kind of with your team. So I think that's important to have a support group. Yeah, no, definitely. I think that brought up a lot of good points, that you have different circles in your life, and you have different people in your life for different things.
I would say for me, it's very much the same, but like I have an inner circle. Like I have people, which you have recently been inducted into the inner circle. We haven't had the ceremony. I'm in there. But it's people who have your best interests at heart, and you can trust them, but they will also call you on your BS and things like that. I
that's
think
important too.
Man, you cannot have a life full of yes men / women / people who are just like, oh, that's a wonderful idea. I think no. Please tell me when I look a mess, or when I'm doing something crazy, or when I'm not walking how I'm supposed to. That's a sidebar. We'll get to that later. But I do think it's important to carefully cultivate the people in your life. Not even just the people you're close to. Anybody who you share energy with in general, you need to carefully cultivate.
One thing I just thought about as well is there's a lot of groups that we are in, and that doesn't mean you have to be in your inner circle. Even we're both in a sorority, for example, and I don't call most of my line sisters about important things myself, honestly. There's people who are athletes. You have your whole, group. You have to trust each other on the team and on the field, but you may not necessarily call them your brothers in real life. There's your coworkers, there's your neighbors. So I feel like one thing I notice is I see people use the word friends for everyone, but I also at the same time don't want to feel like an asshole. I'm the one who's like, yeah, my associates are my, these are these people, but I don't like to be real personal with coworkers in certain groups,
That's real.
And I don't want to call them my friends. I think that's thrown around a little too much.
Friend is a very important term that I think gets thrown around way too often, just like love, right? Which I think you can love everybody, and I tend to mostly
love
people,
when sometimes we mean I just admire you or respect you.
Exactly, and very different. But friend is an investment. Like being my friend, I pour into you. I check, and I can't speak for anybody else, but for myself, like I check up on you. I care about you. I care about what you're doing in your life. I want to know how I can help you, how I can inspire you. Don't
tweet nothing crazy, because Carlie, in like 10 minutes, you're like, how you doing, girl? You good? And I'm like, in the corner crying, like, yeah, I'm good. Nah, don't be crying for real, guys.
No, never. But I think that's important, not to call people friends too early, because there's a reason or a season.
Keep going.
Okay, but say there's a reason or a season that they're in your life, and those seasons might shift. Like one season, someone might be meant to be in your life, and then the next one they might not be, because you're you're going on your personal journey, your path to get somewhere, and maybe they can't be in your life at that moment to get there. I'll illustrate hopefully quickly, with a story. One of my best friends from 7th grade, or 8th grade, JK, wasn't in public school till 8th grade, but 8th grade, met this amazing woman, and she was like my best friend, but then she moved to Japan because her parents were in the military, and I lived in Oklahoma, but we stayed best friends. But then whenever I got to college, we got of college age, I went to college, she made different decisions to not go to college and to kind of wild out, and she called me and was like, hey, I love you, but we can't be friends right now. And I was crushed. I was like, what you mean?
Why do you have to say that, though?
Well, I didn't know at the time. I mean, she said that, and I was like really hurt, because I'm like, you're my best friend. Like, what do you mean you can't be my friend? Like, I was crushed. Like, going to college, not having my best friend, even though she's always been like a long distance friend, she's still my best friend. And then I want to say like 5 years later, so I'm out of school, all these things, I see her on Facebook, and like I add her, I end up going to New York and reconnecting with her. And she told me that the reason why we couldn't be friends is because she said she was at a point in her life where she didn't know how to deal with her trauma, so she was ruining everything in her life, and that she loved me so much that she was like, I don't want to ruin what I have with you right now, and I'll come back later. And if I look at if I look at like what was happening in her life, like it definitely would have ruined our friendship, and we were able to connect later.
So it's easier to reconnect than for things to have happened. Okay.
I appreciate that, and then I'll further expand and say, with any of my friends and people that I really care about, and I mean, hell, even people I don't necessarily care about, I always want them to do what's best for them. Meaning that if me and Lex have this beach day planned and all these things, and then she calls me the day of and is like, hey, I'm not really feeling it. Like, I don't feel good today. I need a self-care day. I need to do whatever. I'm going to be like, okay, girl, you take care of you. And I feel like I haven't always been in that place in my life where that used to upset me. And I'm not saying it's like a constant thing of flaking on people, because that's different. but I always want people to do what's best for them.
That's a good quality to have, and that's hard, especially with relationships. One thing that you made me think of when you talk about friends, that it does take a time to develop sometimes. There's some people who are just your, quote, friends because we grew up in the neighborhood, or I see you at school every day. But recently I was just thinking about how even with friends, it's almost kind of like dating a little bit.
Ooh,
how
it is.
I had a friend who came into LA and we hung out, but then the more we hung out, I was like, I don't know if I liked you as much as I thought I did from talking to you every once in a while. So it's kind of understanding what are our boundaries going to be, and how is our relationship really going to be? Do I consider you a friend, or are you another tier of friendship, whatever those are? But also thinking about the fact, and I talked about with a friend about this the other day too, that sometimes the people I'm the closest with now are people I didn't really connect with or click with well when we first met or talked. A lot of people from college that I'm cool with now are people I didn't talk to actually in school.
Real.
So it's so interesting how over time, now we reconnected. Now they're they're doing real things. We have stuff to talk about where I might not have really liked them that much for whatever reason, and probably dumb reasons, or we just didn't really hang out like that back then. And then a lot of the people who I was really cool with in school, now I'm like, I couldn't tell you what they're doing. I went back to homecoming last year because it was my 10th year, and it was so interesting also how many people came up to me that I don't know, and I didn't know in college. I mean, I know who they are from school, and also I went to a PWI, so it's only so much, so many of us Black people, and how many people ran up to me and were like, Lex, oh my gosh, I'm so proud, it looks like you're doing big things. And the people that follow me on social media are more like, consider themselves more friend to me than people I really knew, but I don't talk to as much. So it was weird, because those people were like, hey, whatever. And people who I didn't even talk to that much, but apparently they'll follow me or see what I'm doing. Yeah. And they're like so hyped to see me. And I was like, this is very interesting.
It is, and I think you start to see that like moving forward in life. Also moving around, right? Because you don't live anywhere near there anymore. You're doing different things. I think the same thing is true for me. Like, I moved really far away from everybody that I went to school with. Doesn't mean we're not friends, but I think it's different layers. You said layers, and I was having a conversation with my mentor about my layers, not like an onion like Shrek, but like a cake. So the top layer of my cake is just me, because I am my own best friend. Like, people, that sounds real corny, but at the end of the night,
that's how it should be.
Yeah, but I'm my own best friend. Like, if I don't know what I like, if I don't know how to treat myself and take care of myself and love myself, then that affects all of my other relationships. Then there's the next layer, and those are the people that I consider like my team, my inner circle, the people that I can call when I'm crying about something nonsensical, or when I know that I'm tripping, and I call them and be like, hey, look, I'm tripping. I really need your ear. and that I trust them with that, but that I also trust with my dreams and my vision, and I know they got my back. And then there's another layer, and it just keeps on going different layers. I think that there are people that I know have my back who I don't talk to every day. Hell, I might not even talk to them once every 6 months, but I know that they love me.
And they're your closest people.
Oh my God.
And it's okay to not have to talk every other day.
Yes, Lord. Because God knows, like, it's probably 1 to 2 people that I talk to every day. And sometimes that talking is like a text or two, and that's it. But it's literally 1 to 2 people like that in my life.
I would agree with that. So how do we identify healthy people to be in our inner circles? So I know one thing you just mentioned, a mentor to you. And so is the mentor your inner circle, or is that kind of like that person outside? Is it your friends that are just your inner circle? Like, what's the difference between like different roles you think of people in your inner circle?
So I think, so this is the differentiation that I was thinking about earlier. So I have an inner circle, like my team, like my road dogs, like I have those people. But then I have a life board of advisors. And so if you think about a company, they have a board of advisors. They have investors, they have people over marketing and finance. There's literally a board of advisors. I have that for my life.
Because now that you said that, I'm thinking about who would be the person, and I do have somebody I would hit about finances, or who knows more about that than I do, or somebody who knows more about self-care or like love or whatever. Like, that's interesting.
Yeah, and so I would say my mentor, although I have a couple mentors, but like my main life mentor, although she is in my inner circle and I know like she checks all those requirements, I would put her in the life board of advisors like first.
Wait, so are these two different things? Your inner circle and your life board of advisors?
To me.
Okay.
I would say my inner circle are people who are either like on the same plane as me, like in life,
okay.
like around the same age, doing kind of the same things, about maybe a little bit ahead of me in the game, maybe a little bit behind me, but we're all pretty much in the same thing of life. My life board of advisors are older.
Okay.
They're
like the coaches, and you and your inner circle are the team,
exactly.
the relay race.
There we go.
Ooh,
I like that.
Okay.
Or the football team. I'm just saying.
Gotcha. Okay.
I love football. Boomer Stoner. But my mentor is on my life board of advisors. And I think it is so important to have people who have experience and who have fruit. And what I mean by fruit are, they don't tell you about their success. You can look at their life and you see it.
That's so important, especially in the age now where everybody can say anything and there's so much talking. As soon as I see somebody selling something or doing some panel or whatever, I'm like, well, what have you really done to make sure that makes sense? Because I could talk about stuff too all day. Like we know things, but it's okay, what have you been able to create? That is important.
And so for me, like they have to have fruit. And I'm not just saying I'm going to look for the most successful person, because that's not it. Like life was fortuitous and brought us together. And it's her heart. Like one of the qualities that for anybody in my life in general, like inner circle, life board of advisors, whatever, is their heart. Like and for me, like that's what I feel like their authenticity.
How can you tell that? Is that just an intuition thing?
I think it's an intuition thing, but
I think it takes time to being around somebody to really feel, like kind of how I was saying earlier, sometimes you feel like you have a quick connection and everything's cool, but you don't really know them yet.
Yeah, I think it takes time, and also trials, right? Because everything is great when everything is great, but you know whenever stuff starts to go wrong, like you see who really is on your team. Like when you're successful, everybody is on your team, right? But whenever you're not, whenever you're struggling with things, that's when you know. And so I would just say, her heart, but she also does what I want to do. I had never met anybody in my life that was looking to pour into people and to grow and inspire people in this way. And I was like,
in the same little niche too.
Yeah, in the same niche.
Because everybody wants to help the world and all that.
But I was like, I've never met anybody. So I was like, man, she's my mentor. But then people are always like, well, how did you get a mentor? Well, before we get to that, do you have a mentor?
No. Not a real person that I would call and talk to and they check on me and then I would ask them questions. And I talk about mentors a lot. And to me, that saying also about how the 5 people around you are, the main folks you're going to be like. So for me, all of my quote mentors are from afar, and that there's certain people I listen to, their weekly whatever, or that I may kind of watch, but I don't necessarily have an official like mentor. Like we've talked about it and you're my mentor. I don't.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And I think that's a perfect segue into what I was going to say. Is like, well, how do you get a mentor? Do you need one? How
I've had people ask me to be their mentor. I'm like, girl, let me get my bill paid first.
Well, real quick, I think you also hit a very important point. Like you are a combination of the 5 people you spend the most time with. So look at your life. It's a little mini challenge this week. Look at your life. Who do you spend the most time with? And that's you, dog. Like whether you like it or not, that's you. So think about that.
It really is, yeah. Yeah, because, there's people that you're rubbing off onto as well. So they say that you're supposed to hang out with people who are better than you or more successful. Again, I keep doing a lot of air quotes because, all these terms mean different things, right? But, success is different for everyone. But definitely staying around people who are challenging you to think differently, to think more deeply, get things done. And I have those people, but they're just not my real friends. They're the people like my podcast that I listen to, stuff like that. So do I need a mentor? I don't know. When I first started my business, there was a Black woman who was older who was doing similar work to me, very focused just on LinkedIn platform. And I got a lot from her. Like she would have me go to speaking with her and I'd do my part on like other platforms while she focused on hers. I saw the way she operated and getting speaking engagements, things like that, her processes for work. I took a lot of that stuff. But again, I never was like, you're my mentor, but we talked and we did a lot of stuff together until it kind of got to a weird point where I don't want to say she was hating on me, but I think she started feeling some kind of way because I could do my part and I could do her stuff too, kind of. because my focus was on an overall like social media platforms and developing strategy. But I always tried to give her like her credit and like, you know, bring her in for stuff or whatever.
Yeah.
But that kind of just, I don't know, fell to the side, I think. So.
Yeah, and I mean, I think it serves its purpose though, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what happens with relationships is any of them, friendships, mentoring, any of those things, you can't get too attached to what it was and what you want it to be because those people might not be able to go with you where you need to go.
Mm-hmm.
And that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
I would say I think people do need mentors, but it doesn't have to be in the sense that I have like my mentor. And me and her, like, to be clear, we don't talk every day.
What is your relationship? Or like how often you talk and what do you do?
We talk like, I would say like every couple of weeks. Like it's not
just
even
like a check-in.
Yeah, like a check-in or doing some work together, or she'll just like send me a card and say, hey, I'm thinking about you, stay encouraged. Like she got me this candle and it just says dope on it, and she like, and then my company is holistically dope, and so she sent it to me and with a card, and it's just like, you know, I saw this, I love what you're doing, I'm thinking about you, hopefully it makes your day, you know, and just little things like that. But I think her life is really inspiring, and so having mentors are people that challenge you to be your best self and who can support you and maybe introduce you to opportunities like the lady that you mentioned. And you can meet them in different ways. You don't actually have to know them. Like you said, you don't know a lot of yours.
Did you ask her to be your mentor?
So her, not directly, but I have different mentors for different things. And I have 2 other mentors in my life that I actually asked to be my mentor. And I didn't know how to do it, but I ended up talking to my therapist about like how to actually ask them to be my mentor. And she was just like, well, just ask.
Right.
Because most people would be honored, you know, that you think about them in that way. And you have to be specific. You can't just be like, hey, will you be my mentor? I was like, hey, I really love what you do in business. I love the way that we work together. I think we have very thoughtful conversations. And it would mean a lot to me if we took our, you know, relationship a little step, or like one step further, and you became my mentor where I could ask you questions about business.
I see. Okay.
But very specific. Like I have one for business. I have one from USC, from grad school, who helps me with like my curriculum and working with kids, because he used to do that in a previous life. He's a professor now. I actually met with him yesterday.
Oh. But that does make me think about some of the people in my life that when I'm working on certain things or in a specific lane, that I will reach out to. There's certain professors who've been there the whole time in grad school, or certain people. So maybe, then I feel like mentor is such a serious thing. I'm like, I don't like everything about them. Like I don't want them to be my full mentor, but just on this little thing. Well, is that okay?
Yeah, I was about to say, I think it's whatever you want it to be. I'm very like flowy, and
I want to make sure I in some way give back to people that I want to invite into my inner circle, because I don't want it to feel like I'm just like sucking and taking the energy from other people either.
Oh, 100%. And I always think of ways like I can provide value. Like yesterday, for example, in our meeting, I just wanted to like have like lunch with him and just catch up, because I haven't seen him in like 6 months. And so we went out, we had lunch. Our conversation was literally, he was like, hey, is there anything I can do to help you? And I'm like, no, I just wanted to catch up and see how you're doing. And then I recommended him some books.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, and then that was it. I didn't actually get anything from him. I didn't need anything. I just wanted to catch up.
Cool. Okay. So, gosh, now you're making me think about mentors. So, a mentor / teacher type people are good to have in your inner circle. Also, though, I think it's important just to have people in your circle that you can just have fun with, that you can call up and be like, let's go hiking, or let's go to the beach. Yes. And because we live in Los Angeles, shout out LA, we can do all that stuff. Everything's right here. Or let's go to an art museum or whatever it is. Like, you have to have people that are not all about work all the time, but that you can just go out and have fun and enjoy.
Oh my God. You do. That's really, it's so corny, but it's like the spice of life. Like you can't just always work. Like all the people who are like hustle 24/7. Like no, thank you. Team no sleep. No, thank you.
Right, please no.
keep
gonna be one of those sleep when I die.
No,
Never.
I'm gonna sleep while I'm alive, and it's gonna make me happier and
I'm
more
gonna sleep
fresh.
for a long time too.
But who can you have fun with? Who challenges you to get outside of your comfort zone? Like Lex was tweeting about a tattoo the other day, and I was like, yo, when we going?
Right. I be getting tattoos every other week. I get tattoos because I don't want to talk about things, so I let the pain be the communication. That's another episode.
We can talk when you get the tattoo.
Yeah, that's
Maybe
another
we can do an episode at the tattoo place.
Oh, nah, they be like, get out of here. What are y'all doing? While we're getting them, y'all just hear those zzz in the back. Yeah. I can give you one, actually. I can make the
tattoo.
Yeah, there's some YouTube videos on how to make like prison tattoos. If you're down.
Y'all need to watch the video so y'all can see my face.
She's like, no.
Yeah, no.
No, don't do that.
I'll just put a post-it here and be like, oh, prison tat.
Right. Post-its are about to be the new wave. We both addicted to them.
Yeah, I love post-its. They're a must-have in any office situation. And when you're entrepreneuring and you don't have an office, that's anywhere.
Exactly.
So definitely you have to have someone you can have fun with. And these are just qualities that we kind of thought through that we like to have in our inner circle. So we love to hear what you think. Or if you disagree, I'm also down for that. But something that's really important for me, I kind of alluded to it earlier.
Yeah, you did.
Are know people. Like, I need to know people in my life.
No, as in N-O.
N-O. And what I mean is iron sharpens iron. Like, people have to challenge you. They have to call you on your stuff. They sharpen you. Essentially, like, you don't want people in your life who just let you kind of float by.
You know what? I know when people aren't a real, like, friend for me, when I don't even feel the need to be a no person to somebody else, if that makes sense. Like, if somebody comes up to me and is like, oh, you like this shirt? I'm like, yeah, it's cool. Hey, if I don't care enough, I'm not gonna be real with you. Like, that's kind of how I think about it as well. That I know people are really friends to me and that I really care about them if I do feel the need to actually talk to them about something, or if I want to call out something, or if I can be more honest, I guess. 'Cause I'm not gonna lie, I'm just not gonna give you that much energy, you know, if you're not. But I think that's important. I think that's important for us, period, just to not be a liar, like to tell the truth with your friends when they're talking to you, and doing it tactfully. So being a no person doesn't mean you have to be like, that's the fucking dumbest idea you ever came up with. Like, you don't have to be like that. But because you are friends, and hopefully because they are in your real inner circle, you should be able to have be able to give criticism and be able to accept it, hopefully. I know that's hard. That's hard for me.
It's hard, even with people who love you.
But if I trust somebody to ask them about something, that's another thing too. I've learned to try to wait, and I know I mess up sometimes, but try to wait for people to actually come to me or ask me about something instead of just offering, oh, think about this, or here's some advice that you didn't ask for. Because at least then they're open to it. And if I live my life in such a way where people see something, then they'll know what they can come to me with.
Yeah, no, I agree with that 100%. And that's something that I had to learn, because I be trying to help people.
Yeah, and that's all you want to do. And then it just looks like, damn, like, why is she always putting me down? Or like, I'm never good enough.
Why does she think she's better and that she's just knows so much better than me? Because
which is just a reflection of, you know, that person's own projections. But
100%. But one of my mentors in business that I met through USC, he used to be a therapist before he was a CEO of a company, and he always asks, like, he'll listen and he'll be like, okay, so do you want advice? Or do you just want me to hold space? And so I was like, oh my God, mind blown, like the little emoji with the explosion. So now I ask people, and sometimes I be getting my feelings hurt because I be wanting them to want help from me or want things.
But you're wasting your breath if they don't.
Exactly. And so I asked, like, hey, I would love to help you with that business idea. Do you want my help? And they were actually, one of my friends like, not right now, but
I love
in
that.
the future. Yeah.
And especially for advice too.
Yeah, like, do you just need me to hold space? Like, are you venting and you just want me to hold space and support you? Or do you actually want to hear my thoughts and my opinion?
Because sometimes I'm thinking about myself. I want one or the other. Sometimes I do just want to, and you know, which I don't really agree with, but how a lot of times we think of guys as more logical and women as more better listeners or whatever. And so there were some guy friends I know, if I wanted to just talk to, but they're giving me a solution immediately, and I'm like, oh. And actually, I am actually very much more solution oriented than a lot of people. So for me, I'm like, that, like, we're actually moving. I do like that. But sometimes you just want them to say, man, I'm sorry, or like give a little more empathy around what you're talking about. And so sometimes you do want one or the other or both. So I think that is a really good idea. I'm going to try to remember that, to practice the listening, and not just wanting to immediately jump in with some advice, and also asking, do you want my advice or can I give you advice?
Yeah, I think that is a great, and I have to remind myself every time. But also,
I'll be hyped to like talk because I'm like, oh, I read this in this book, and I did
oh my
that.
God, and I have this.
But that's why we have a podcast too. So now you have to listen to our advice.
If you want to, which we hope you do. You should sign up for our email list too. We'll talk about that later. But whenever you try to come up with solutions when people are talking, you're also not listening.
Yeah.
You're listening to reply, which means you're not actively listening. So
I'm a terrible listener.
I've challenged myself to actively listen, and I'm like, oh man, what I've noticed is I would have tried to give a solution that actually probably isn't helpful, but I wouldn't have heard it had I not just listened. So listen to us and to your friends.
And you could tell, for me, I think I know too much. I think I know everything. So I hate, and I catch myself too. That's when it's really frustrating, when somebody's speaking and I know, like, Lex, let people talk because I want to jump in, I want to talk. And I have to then not get mad at myself when I do interrupt. And I'm like, shoot, I did it. And so now I got to like let it go. And like, okay, now start listening.
Breathe, stretch.
That's a thing. Yeah, that's a thing.
So definitely listen.
Make sure all your friends don't just agree with everything you say, though.
Yeah.
And those are the people who end up kind of being boring anyway. Nobody likes to keep people around who they just go along with you. And if you do, I feel like maybe you need to assess your own self-esteem or your own, what is it?
Exactly.
Something.
Like wondering why you need those type of people in your life. Because that's something.
You won't grow.
Exactly. You don't grow, and sometimes that stuff is not easy to hear, and that's okay. But that's okay. And you know it too, like going into the conversation, you know it's about to be some shit you don't want to hear. In that same vein though, you can't have people who just always offer criticism. Like you want people who build you up too.
It's all balance. You need those good affirmations from folks. You need people sometimes to just say, hey, I recognize what you're doing. I'm encouraging you. Good job with this. Good job with that. Again, we shouldn't need that though. That's another thing. If you need it, then you need to find validation with yourself and work on yourself. But I love having friends around who sometimes they have to remind me that I'm dope as hell. Like, you can be working hard and getting things done and you don't even really recognize your own strides that you've made and what you're doing. And from the outside, people see that you are growing and that you are getting things done. And it's just nice just to hear every once in a while. I don't think that's a bad thing.
No, it's not. And like, I love that you mentioned working on yourself first, because even with love languages, I used to think that words of affirmation was not, it's like my third one, but it was a close second to touch. However, what I realized is that I had to affirm myself, and me soon to the Marianne dance, but it, exactly. Icebox where my heart used to be looking at.
Oh, Lord.
But I used to more so rely on how other people would build me up than building myself up. And I really had to look inside, and I had a conversation someone, and I was like, yo, that wasn't a you thing, that's a me thing, my bad.
I just got like that. Mine is words of affirmation, probably still. But to me, just like how you're saying, I started to notice that that's not a good thing. Like, I shouldn't have to do things to hear back from people. And so that's something I'm like actively working through now.
Oh, me too. And looking at people's actions and just letting people be, that's a whole entire other podcast. But that my number one is actually quality time. So this is great.
But because I love words of affirmation, I give them a lot to people I really actually like and respect. I don't do this for everybody, but I try to, because my thing is I always try to show/give what I want to be getting and giving. And it just sucks that I've had people in my life who did not catch but again, that's on me because that's who they are, and I can't make somebody get it, and they might get it, but that's just not them to feel like they need to say those things all the time. So let me not make that as a super bad thing, but for me it's hard trying to be close to somebody who they're like, oh, well, you know, I think this and this and this about you. And I'm like, but I don't. Maybe I do, but I don't. Like, you literally never say anything, but you feel it, and you know you say like, yeah, but I feel it. Like, come on, this is obvious. I'm hanging out with you and this and that. But I'm like, dang, I just want to hear sometimes.
Yeah, and I mean, that's real, but it's also communication. So that comes down to a bigger, which is probably 10 more episodes, but about communication and saying that. Like, I know it's not your job to build me up. Like, I do that
Right,
myself,
yeah.
but it would be
That's
nice
big.
sometimes to hear. And also being okay and open to the fact that they might say no. And that's fine too. But
and
also,
that's your decision now on how you want to move forward with those relationships.
exactly, but being open and vulnerable, which I think vulnerability gets looked at as a weakness so often, but it is such a strength. I have to remind myself
It's so
every
freeing
day.
when you start to get it. Forever, that was super weakness to me, but it really is so much more freeing to just be yourself, say what you actually feel, say what's going on with you. You just have to be ready for what comes back to you, I think.
Yeah, and open and knowing
Mm-hmm.
and knowing that, and that's fine. But I think you can't really be your true authentic self, like who you are, whenever you're not owning what you want, asking for what you want, saying how you feel. Because a lot of times people are, let me just speak for myself, a lot of times when I did that, and sometimes still do that, is because I'm scared of what the other person might say, how they might react, how I'll look to them. And I'm like, none of that stuff matters.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
So affirm your friends, affirm your inner circle, or think about the people who do affirm you and if they are good to be considered, I guess, to be in your inner circle. I think another thing too, we talked about how you have mentors and teachers who maybe are on a different level than you that you can look to and gain from. But also, just even with your peers, we can get inspiration from each other. My friends and the people that I would say are in my inner circle mostly inspire me in the things that they do that I'm trying to get better in. I don't know if that's good or bad necessarily. I know that I would say that would probably be bad for like relationships, because as you grow, now you grow out of those relationships. So for me, it's not just that now. There's plenty more reasons why, like all the things we're saying are why these people are in my inner circle. But for example, some of my closest friends, like they are quick to action. And I'm like, I like that. You help me, you inspire me when you're like, I want to do something. And then you actually start doing it. And I'm like, man, let me go home and work on what I need to do or get things done too.
I think that's a really big thing. And I think the basis of this that we kind of have been touching on, but I haven't said directly, is knowing yourself and working on yourself and doing the work yourself. All of these yourselves.
You have to be the friend that you want. We can't just build an inner circle of people who are what we want to be necessarily, or people who are just like all these perfect people around you without you wanting to like grow and work on yourself. Like you have to still be giving and working on all these things as well.
Yeah. And in that vein, like Strengths Finders test, my number one strength is ideation. Love ideating. A very good complementary skill to have, or a person to have in my life, is an executor. Because I have all the ideas. I need someone who's like, all right, we're doing this thing, and then once I'm in the vein of doing it, I'm rolling. But sometimes it's just like taking that step. And so I love that you said like people who take
But it's kind of like us with this podcast, because I'm also very much an ideator, and execution is one of my main things that I have to focus on, because I'll start a zillion things and I'll be working on them, but then it's like, what did I actually finish yet before I start another thing or came up with another idea? But I guess somehow though, us together, we have the idea. And again, I think action breeds action. So as soon as we start doing it, then we get excited and we're like, let's set this up, let's do this. And next thing you know, we actually got the podcast together, got a site together, got everything going. And the more you do, the more you are confident in your own self to keep doing things, keep executing. So it's good just to have people around and to have accountability, I think, too, with people in your inner circle.
Oh, 100%. And that's how we got the Bouch posted. So whenever y'all see us on a couch, though, it's gonna be real.
It's gonna be real.
But I also think, to your point, having people in your life that you look up to and that inspire you, that are doing what you want to do, or maybe not, maybe just good in ways that you want to grow in, and you don't necessarily have to know them, but there are plenty of people in your community that you can get to know who are doing amazing things. So I think you have to have people in your life that inspire you and who you look up to. They might not necessarily be in your inner circle, but they very well could be. I look up to everyone in my inner circle in different ways.
Something you said made me think about another part of that as well, that there are outside people that you may be seeing. I think it's okay to not just let your inner circle be people you've known for a long time. Like, it's okay to, if you see somebody who's running a program, reach out to them, start a relationship with them, and they can probably become part of your inner circle. It's important to continue to grow the people that you're around, especially like you said, if you see them doing the types of things that you're into or that you support as well. So your inner circle doesn't mean, all right, like we're blood sisters for life and that's it. Like nobody else can be a part of this. Like it continues to change and grow. Sometimes people fall out and then sometimes it just keeps getting bigger or whatever. But it just, I think for me, as I've gotten older and again, as I know myself more and more and more, it's just that my inner circle makes more sense. And so I don't have to think hard about who am I going to call or who am I talking to about this or that, because it's just a very nicely fit puzzle now.
Yeah, and like you said, it changes and it grows. And you have to be willing to make space for what you need in that time period. I think that's really hard, and this is kind of on the moving on and the creating relationships. And like, okay, well, real quick, let me backtrack. So you said reaching out to people in the community. When you reach out, provide them value. Ask how you can help them. That is the easiest way to get to know somebody, is not to add more things, not to take away from their energy or add more things to their plate, but offer. Like if you see someone that has a nonprofit and you want to do that, how can I volunteer? Do you need someone to do admin? What are you good at? Utilizing your skills to help other people is a great way to build relationships, especially with people who inspire you. Yeah, and I think that it's the same in anything. So it doesn't just have to be like a business or your, like a business inner circle or your personal inner circle. Like reaching out to people and building up relationships and realizing that sometimes things change, so you can have like create space for new people into your life. Because like I said, having friends is an investment, and it's a big investment. Having this inner circle, having people who pour into you, so you have to make sure that you have space for them. Yeah,
and I do like the idea of like of thinking about it as a Venn diagram of people from all different areas, you know, and how they all come together to fit all your different interests, because we're all very multifaceted. I mean, you need somebody who can go to this, see juvenile with you, and you need somebody who's going to go to the park with you, and that might all be the same person, and who's going to do work with you. Like for you, could probably do all those things with me, but you know, everybody's not going to want to do everything. And also, I don't think all of your friends have to be friends either. So there's different pockets, and you know, it works out how it works out. So those are some of the things that we look for in people who we like in our inner circle, or who we think are important to be in your inner circle. But we also want to talk about actionable ways to cultivate that circle. So we have our friends, and so what should we be doing? Is it, you know, do you have to talk to them every day, or what do we have to do? And the first thing, which we've said a few times, that I would say is know yourself. So with anything, know what your needs are, know what you care about, know what you can give, know what you care about, because if you don't have that, then really your inner circle isn't really anything.
Yeah, then what do you have? And on that, make sure that it's a reciprocal relationship. Know what you bring to the table. When you reach out to that person who inspires you and you want to be a part of their world, what do you...
That goes exactly with what you just
value
said.
do you bring them? But also a give and take. Like if you want more in a relationship, or like you want to learn from somebody who's a photographer, but you've never done that, say, hey, how can I help you? And maybe you give me lessons. Or how much are lessons, and can I bring the cost down by helping you do these things? Like making sure it's a give and take.
Even on just a regular friend level, you know, does that friend always come to your house, try to go to their house? Or are you always the one calling them about, you know, what happened to you and what's going on? Do you take time to listen to them or to ask them, hey, how's it going? And making sure that, you know, it just stays kind of even. Everybody does end up kind of playing certain roles. And, you know, you have to understand that. But a lot of times people get tired, or they may not want to say that. And, you know, you're like, man, why you start ignoring my calls or whatever it is. But, you know, try to be as giving as you are with taking, for sure.
And making sure, and just elaborating on that. Making sure every time you call somebody, you're not having a breakdown. Like that's the only time you call them, but you haven't talked to them.
You don't ever want to be that person where you pick the phone and you're like, Actually, I have a couple people like that where I pick the phone like, I know they're going to want to talk for an hour, so I'm not right now.
Yeah, and that's okay. And we all have rough periods in life where it might be a month of that for me. But it's not always like that. And for me, even when I am going through those things, I try to work on that in other ways instead of putting it all on a person.
Have you ever felt like you had to be mentally prepared? Like just when you see somebody's name, you know? And it's like, man, this is my friend, but
and
I'm not in the space right now to even talk to them about whatever.
But that's self-care.
Mm-hmm.
Like setting those boundaries. Like, okay, I don't have this energy right now to give you, but after I do these things, maybe I will. And then calling them back if you want to.
And that goes, I guess, with our next thing is managing your expectations. Because if I can't expect every time I call Carlie, she's going to be like, pick up on the first ring. Hey, how can I help you? Like, it shouldn't go that way. And everybody has a life, and we're all doing things. So managing your expectations of, you know, what is it that I'm expecting from my friends and what should they be expecting from me? I think that's important too. So you're not, you know, butthurt over every little thing.
Man, because you're just a lot of hurt.
And sometimes you don't even know, like, people feel some kind of way actually because they don't communicate as well, which is dang. I didn't mean to connect it to the next one.
Oh, man. But like, how often do you spend time with them? How often do you get to see them? Like, one of my best friends from back home, and I know I say best friend a lot, I really do not have that many best friends. We can break that down later though.
Yeah.
But one of them lives out here, and me and her can literally not talk for a whole month, and it's fine. It's all love, but what we've both been trying to do recently is like reaching out and saying, hey, I'm thinking about you, hope you're having a good day, or how are you? Like, very short conversations. But that works for us. That might not work for other people. Like, I have friends and people in my life who want more communication and who feel like they need to talk to me a lot more frequently than a month. And so it's just communicating with the person and holding each other accountable.
Yeah, and it's all different for everybody. I want to, because of the type of person I am as an ideation person, I always want to know like what people are working on, what's going on in your life, in a way to where if there's any way that I can help or connect a dot, I'm into doing that. But also because I will hold people accountable. And it's so funny because a lot of times I do this more for other people than myself, which is why I guess I need those friends to do with me. But I will hit people up like, yo, you said you're working on this, or what's up? Did you get your website up? Or, you know, what's going on with this idea or that idea? And sometimes you need that just to stay on track, or I think it's good because it's showing maybe that I'm paying attention to what they're working on, and you know, they just needed that little reminder, or they can tell me about how they did do it or get things done, and now I get an update about that too. So it's good to hold each other accountable, so that you're always growing and moving forward.
And I think one of the really important ones is in life, like the giving it, like looking for opportunities that either you can share or that you can give another person. By knowing what they do, by being a part of their life, you understand, like, I'm like, oh, I know Lex does these things. So if I hear of a company who needs that, I'm like, oh man, let me slide that to Lex because that's what she does. Like making, like rising tides raise all ships. Like in real life, I want all of us to make it. There's enough for all of us to make it, to be successful. And I can't do everything. I do a lot of things, but I can't do everything.
You do a lot of things.
And so it's making sure that, you know, I'm trying to get my friends paid.
Yeah, me too. And that's my biggest thing right now. I'm not gonna lie to you. And like I spoke earlier about my creative friends and living in LA, those are the folks who are DPs and directors, and they do film and photography, all those cool things. And with my clients, they're the first people I call and be like, yo, you trying to get paid? Come do this project, come film these interviews, or come make this video for this company, whatever it is. And I think that's important too, because we're not just talking and holding each other accountable, but I'm really, you know, we're really giving each other opportunities to move forward and giving people, you know, work to do and money in their pocket. That's super important for me as well.
And that action is so important. Like, that tells me you believe in me more than you saying I believe in you. When you say, oh, here's a client that I know and that I trust, and I recommended you for this. Like, don't tell me what you do for yourself. That's great. That's wonderful. Tell me what you do for the people that you care about and for other people, like for the community.
Ooh, think about that. Ooh, that's good.
Ooh.
So, kind of just to end this out then, Carlie, are you holding yourself to the same standards as everyone else in your life, in your inner circle?
I hold myself to way higher standards. That's
a lot of people probably do.
Yeah, and that's...
Or let people like us, if that makes sense.
And that's something I'm working on, because my therapist helped me realize that I hold myself to perfect standards, which nobody can do, right? Like, nobody can do. Even Jesus flipped tables. Like, nobody can do. I'm just saying. Not comparing myself to Jesus. Just saying. But if he couldn't do it, like, where am I going to follow this? But I hold myself to such high standards that I want to, like, my friends always reminds me, like, be kind to yourself. And so I bring that same kindness and patience with my friends. Like, I do have standards, but I realize we're all human. And life is hard, y'all. Like, life sucks sometimes, and it's hard. And so I try to be supportive for them, and as supportive for myself as I am for them too. I think that's actually the harder part for me, is like how I am towards myself. Like, I would much easier and rather do things for other people. And so looking at
I think I could just copy paste that answer. Because it's the same, you know, like, again, like I've said a couple of times in this episode, that, you know, I'll do this with my friends. I'm like, man, I need to go home and do this myself. Or, you know, I need to do a lot of this stuff for myself. Or I need to forgive myself more. That's a big thing that in the last few months of my growth that I've really focused on, because sometimes you have off days, or some days I'm not as productive. And because I run businesses and have so much going on all the time, it's hard to feel like you can take a little time off, but it's okay. Or if I'm, you know, something slips in the cracks, it's okay. It's another day. Being hard on yourself only kind of puts you more in a hole.
It exacerbates the problem.
Exactly. And so you're right, the same way. And just like how, have you seen before, it's like people treat strangers better also than some of our friends sometimes.
Oh my God.
Speaking to them or being kind to them, or more than your family, things like that. So I think it's important to recognize those things and how you treat people you don't know, people you consider your friends, yourself, and being sure that you're not shorting your own self, that you're giving yourself the love, and your friends, the people you say you love, giving them the love and showing them the love, not taking it for granted, the way you may speak to somebody who's a total stranger or something like that too. That's really important, to be open, and sometimes to be more verbal, at least every once in a while, you know, with your friends, and letting them know that you love them or you appreciate them. If you're not just showing it off top.
Yeah, and thank you. Those were snaps if you're not watching the video, because I think that is so important, to take care of yourself, but also to make sure you're taking care of your friends, because so often we see people so much, or we talk to them so much, we do take it for granted. And letting people know how special they are to you and how much they mean to you. Like, yeah, no, I'm real sentimental and all those things, so I love to do that. But I heard a quote, and it was like, don't wait for people to die. Like, don't wait for people to die to give them roses.
Give them the flowers while they can still smell them.
Exactly. So I try to, you know, I try to make that a very conscious thing, in all the love languages, to try to show people how much I love them and care about them. And
when you care about them, you take the time to understand what's important to them and what matters to them. So if words are important to me, then maybe somebody will see that or get that. If quality time or whatever the other ones are more important for somebody else, then maybe you can try to do some sacrifice, some give and take, some compromise, to where you're still showing them the love in the way that they need it. So I think that's not just for romantic relationships.
Oh yeah, 100%. For all of your relationships, even business. It's really interesting. You pay attention to your clients. You'll know that too. Those are some actionable steps to cultivate your inner circle and your personal life board of advisors. But on our shout out today, I'd also like to drop a resource. I'm going to give a shout out to Katrina McGhee, who is a career success strategist. That's real fancy. Let me say that again. Career success strategist and an author. She has a free course on lovingonmeacademy.com. And it's called Rise, Shine, Slay. And it's about re-owning your time and prioritizing your life to create it in a way that you want to live it. But in the course, there is a whole section breakdown about your inner circle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
With a free printout, a whole handbook, so you can go through and look at. Hers is much more in depth. These are me and Lex's personal things, but hers is well thought out, and she teaches this to corporations.
Yeah, ours is well thought out too.
I mean, I didn't mean it. Good God.
We took a lot of time on this agenda.
Taking this personal. We did, and it's important. Oh my God, how could I? Okay, hold on. Two things. Okay, so the first one is loving, LOVING on ONME academy.com. Rise, Shine, Slay. It's free. You can print it out. Write it. You can I love writing, putting it up places, all those things. But the last one, I forgot my most important thing about having people in my life. Good God.
What is it?
They have to be trolls.
Trolls?
Trolls. All of y'all are trolls. All of y'all be trolling me, and I be trolling you, and it's it keeps life interesting.
Yeah, you gotta be able to roast each other.
Exactly. What is the fun? And see
how hyped she just got? Damn, she got so hyped about roasting people.
I almost forgot. No, well. Yeah.
You're right though, because you have fun people. You're yes girl, you can do it, and sometimes you gotta be like, girl, you look like a motherfucker.
And sending, is it GIF or GIF? Because I'm old.
A GIF.
Okay, GIFs. Sending GIFs to people hilarious GIFs. Good guy.
There's some like a connection you have to have. Like sometimes people don't have that same type of connection. You're like, it's just not the same.
Yeah, I tweeted.
You don't appreciate the just reaction pics and stuff like that.
Yeah, I'm just over it. But I tweeted the other day, to know me and love me is to troll me and to be trolled by me. Because
troll and be trolled.
Exactly. But I looked at my inner circle and my life board of advisors, and all y'all is trolls.
Because that's another thing. That means if people feel like they can be real with you, then... But on the flip side of that, and kind of what we're getting to as well, is understanding how to not take things personally, or not taking things personally, because some people will be hurt, and that's kind of how I know, we're not, a great fit for like being like besties or anything like that, because every time I say something, you're taking it too serious, and it's like, bro, like, I'm being sarcastic, I'm trolling, I'm just being funny, but they're just like, nah, well, this is, like, never mind.
Yeah, and I mean, and to be fair, I'm a sensitive person, but it's funny, and when you know the person cares about you, like, it's hilarious. Yeah, so that was my last little tip that I missed on the thing. This was very well thought out. Let's hit it with the question.
Today's question of the week is #Carlie's Couch. What am I making harder than it needs to be?
Ooh.
What are you making harder than it needs to be? I think a lot of times stuff is way more simple than we try to make it. And when we try to complicate it, that's a sign, well, for me, let me not say we, but that's a sign of me just procrastinating something that I'm supposed to be doing. What I make harder than it needs to be, I would say, is quick action on things that are simple, just because I don't want to respond to this person right now, but then next thing I know, that email's still sitting there 3 weeks later, now it's awkward. Like little stuff. I'll just look at something like, I don't want to do this right this second, I'll do something else. And missing out. But that's kind of broad, because it could be about a lot of things, but just taking quick action, I'm trying to work on that.
And I didn't mean to laugh so hard, but it sounds like I answered that question. Like, that is definitely something I was going to say. What I'll say for myself is life in general.
How are you making life hard?
Dog.
That is too broad.
Life is not as hard as we make it as people in general. When I look at quick action items, like replying to that email, I literally have an email sitting in my inbox that I should have replied to. And I was talking about it right before the podcast.
For you, you're probably like, oh, it was last week. I have some from March. March. Yeah. Now I want to be like, so you still trying to do this thing?
But all those things, if you think about a lot of the things that you put off, or that we put off, just from not taking action on it, makes everything harder. And it's a trickle-down effect. That's what I mean by life.
Man, the more action, I swear, the more actionable you are, the more confident you are with yourself, and knowing that you can do things and you're getting things done. So that's definitely, it sounds like we're both on the same page as that being what we make hard. Whoa. I almost turned that into my jokes. And see, we can have our jokes. We be pausing everything and just being funny though, guys. I want y'all to get sensitive on us. But yeah, so answer that. Talk to us this week about what you're making harder than it needs to be. Talk to us about your inner circle. Did we miss anything that's important for you to have in your inner circle? And also, as always, we got to start remembering to say this at the beginning, but screenshot this. Let us know you're listening at CCFierce on Instagram. Throw it in your story. I'm at Lextopia, LEX_Topia. And I like seeing feedback from people. It's good just to know, what people think about what you heard.
Yeah, same. You can also visit Carlie's Couch, CARLIES couch.com. If you have any more personalized feedback, we have a little comment box. If you want to sign up for our newsletter.
You can leave comments on the episode and stuff too if you wanted to.
Ooh.
And then you can
go to 5 stars.
And leave us
and 5 stars.
And you can leave a review and say that we're awesome.
We're like the best. So thank you for joining us on The Bouch.
We the best.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Next episode of Barley's Bouch next week.